पियो बात मारौँ आज हामी दुई गफ गफ गरौँ. Hello and welcome to the Sex Lives of Kathmandu Girls, Bisexual Education, Part 1.
Part 1.
Yes, because I am planning on having 2 parts to this episode.
1 part for each sexual.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That wasn't the plan, but you know what? Let's just say I did intend it for it to be that way. Although it's a little bit of a misnomer to think of bisexuality as only attraction to two genders.
No, fair enough. It's in the word, the bi meaning two and all that.
I am Dawa Didi, and with me, as usual, is your Pinadu.
John.
Hello, John.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am good. And what do you know about bisexuality?
It's when someone can be attracted to more than one gender. Usually the general understanding is that it's, 2, because the general understanding is there's 2 genders.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, something that the audience probably doesn't know about me is that I am bisexual.
Oh my god.
I'm just coming out to you today, John.
I was not aware of this.
After several years of our relationship.
I know, I was not made aware of this.
I hope it doesn't change how you look at me or how you feel for me.
Not particularly, no.
Well, actually, pansexual or bisexual. I generally use those 2 terms interchangeably.
What's the difference?
Well, I identified as bisexual for most of my young adult life, and then at one point I think I became acquainted with the term pansexual and realized that it rang truer for me.
Yeah.
So, the main distinction between bisexuality and pansexuality is that while bisexual people experience an attraction towards 2 or more genders, pansexual people are attracted to people of all genders.
Yeah.
It's not quite a clear-cut distinction. Now, we all know, well, at least we know, John, that gender is a construct and attraction and gender is a very fluid thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that comes into it. And my sexuality is quite complicated and has definitely been shaped by the way I was raised.
Yeah.
Not to say that I was made bisexual or pansexual, but definitely...
Your specific expression of your pansexuality is informed by the way you were raised.
Yes, my sexuality has been informed by my experiences.
There are plenty of straight men who are attracted to other men because those other men are like... I mean, I know I found myself attracted to, like, a gay man before.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Lil Nas X.
I remember you mentioned that. Do you mean that you feel sexual attraction, or that you found Lil Nas X to be attractive?
I found him to be attractive. Yeah, I don't think I'd necessarily. I mean, basically, I looked at him and I was like, there are things about him that I find attractive. I'm not sure necessarily. It's not like it wasn't like a clear cut. I would definitely have sex with him, but it was like a sort of like I can't say that I absolutely would never have sex with him.
Yeah.
And I've also considered, like, it's a thing I've discovered about myself. It's like, strictly speaking, what I'm attracted to is, like, something that resembles something that resembles a sort of ideal of attraction in my mind, and that ideal can and has changed over the course of my life as well,
Yeah. But in general, you identify as a straight man. In
general, yes.
Yeah, and you have so far felt quite secure in the knowledge that, you're attracted to women.
Yeah.
Or, feminine.
It's never really felt like anything else. It's never really felt like, anything else.
You've never felt like there was any more questions to ask about yourself and your sexuality?
Not particularly, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, that's not quite the same for me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we are splitting this conversation into 2, because the first part of the conversation, John is just looking at me with a knowing smile. I don't really know what this knowing smile is for.
We're splitting it in 2, 1 for each sexuality.
Sure. He's loving this joke.
It's funny.
Yeah, I see that you're enjoying it.
To me, is the words you're trying to say.
Sure. The reason I'm splitting this topic to 2 is because in the first topic, we're going to be talking about how I came to recognize my sexuality, what it was like growing up as a little queer girl in Kathmandu, in Nepal.
As a baby queer.
Yeah, as a baby queer. And how my sexuality, once I came to recognize it, embraces as part of my identity, how my life went on beyond that.
Yeah.
So today we're just going to be talking about Dawa as a baby queer.
Okay, let's hear it.
Which means I'm going to be doing something which I've never done before in any of these episodes. To be fair, we've only done 3 episodes.
I mean, that's enough to establish a pattern, isn't it?
We have never talked about my childhood.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about my childhood.
The scandal.
The scandal. So, as a straight man, right, you grew up with a lot of examples of what it was like to be straight. What it was like to date. What was it like to look for someone to date?
What sort of thing I should be attracted to, and what it resembles.
What that relationship would look like. Whether you have hookups or a serious relationship. If you have a breakup, what breakups might look like.
Yeah.
You had examples in media. You had examples in real life as well.
Yeah.
In my case, when I was growing up, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, there wasn't really a lot of representation of what it was like to be bisexual. Forget bisexual, gay.
Queer.
Or queer in any way, shape or form.
Except Disney villains.
Yeah. Yes, they were gay coded, but obviously we didn't really pick up on that much.
I suppose they didn't really have relationships either, did they?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
So not having representation, whether in media or in real life, it has an impact on how one sees oneself, right? So there were, like I said, quite a lot of examples of straight relationships. I mean, there are movies about a girl and a boy falling in love in all kinds of ways. It could be that they fell in love at first sight. It could be that it was enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, best friends in love with other people. But then turns out that they were each other's true loves all along. I'm sure you can all identify about 20 movies in each of these different categories.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, I've watched a lot of movies about how boys fall in love with girls in different ways, in different settings.
Yeah.
Also, many examples of straight relationships in real life. There are mums and dads, uncles and aunts, grandma and grandpa, right? But you don't really see your gay aunties.
Yeah.
I didn't see any gay aunties. I wish I had gay aunties. I wish I had gay uncles, right? I wish I had a Cam and Mitchell, but I didn't have that. So what that basically means is that you can't really conceptualize any way of being gay or bisexual or any different form of sexuality or relationships outside of the heteronormative norm if you just don't see it.
Yeah.
And to that point, what might even happen when you're really young and you don't even have a full conception of what love and romantic relationships are, you may not even be able to identify or recognize that within yourself.
Yeah.
And that happened to me. So I did not know that I was, or what I was feeling were queer thoughts until I was in my late teens or young adulthood.
Yeah.
And I definitely had queer thoughts. The thing is, I knew within me that the thoughts that I had were not strictly kosher.
Yeah.
Strictly straight. And I knew enough that I should not express it, basically.
Yeah.
But I did not know exactly that it meant that I was queer, that it was a part of my identity. When I think back in my early years, I remember from when I was 4 or 5, there were 2 people in my class that I was really drawn to.
Yeah.
Right? There's this one boy, he was in my class. I was about 4 or 5, we were in the same kindergarten class, basically.
Okay.
And I used to think he was really cute.
Yeah.
And I used to be drawn to him. And by being drawn to him, basically, I wanted to sit in the same desk as him. Yeah. And I wanted to play with him, you know. I wanted him to want to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And I really liked it when he told people that I was his best friend.
Yeah.
My mother, is a bit of a crunchy mum. She liked to make sure that she packed the healthiest lunches.
Yeah.
And she also really liked to experiment with food. So I remember she had made some vegetarian sushi rolls for a 5-year-old, by the way. So
sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a sushi roll with avocado, cucumber, carrots, rice on a bed of nori, right?
Yeah.
As an adult, that was amazing. What a wonderful school lunch.
Yeah.
As a 5-year-old who wanted...
It's disgusting.
Yeah, who wanted a bag of crisps, maybe.
Yeah.
That was terrible, right? So I remember one of my strong, a very strong memory I have is that while eating lunch, for whatever reason, I got really annoyed and I spat it out on my desk. Okay. And then this boy that I had a crush on, he was going to sit next to me. He looked at me with disgust and he said he's not going to sit next to me anymore. Because I spat out on the desk, right?
Oh no!
And I felt so heartbroken.
You got Cootie, they don't want to sit next to you anymore.
And that is one of my most earliest memory of heartbreak.
And you still remember it as well?
Yeah, I was 4 or 5 and I still remember it.
You poor baby gay.
I don't remember, well, he was a guy, but...
You were a baby gay though.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody else in the class. I don't remember what my experience was in general. I just remember his face looking at me with disgust.
Yeah, that I just seared into your memory.
Yeah, and I remember his name.
I bet you could probably draw it from memory.
If I was a good artist, then yes,
you
perhaps.
could capture it.
Yes. I also remember there was this other girl from, not my class, but another class. And I remember her name as well. And she was... I found her the most beautiful person in the playground, right? So she had these rosy cheeks.
Yeah.
Right? And bear in mind, she was 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, she's not all there.
She's not all there.
Like, you know how toddlers are not all there? They don't seem to be that aware of their surroundings.
Right, okay.
Right? I remember, I was a...
Saw the blood going to her cheeks rather than her brain.
I was a bit of a precocious child, so I remember thinking, she's not all there, and she needs my help. And I used to insist, basically we had to stand in line to wait for the bus when the school bus came to pick us back to go home.
Yeah.
Right? And she was not in my class, she was in a different class. So I would go out and find her, and I would hold her hand. I would tell her, you have to hold my hand, because you're going to get lost.
You're going to hold hands.
Yeah. And it used to make me feel really warm within me when I was doing that. But of course, I didn't really see it as romantic feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, I just really want to be her friend. And funnily enough, those are the only 2 people I remember from those years.
Yeah.
I don't remember the teachers. I couldn't describe to you what the classroom looked like. I couldn't tell you anything at all about those years. And of course, I was very young. I was like sub 5 years old.
Yeah.
But those 2 people left an impression in my mind to this point.
Did you ever find that you had a bit of a thing for rosy cheeks from that point onwards?
Yes, actually.
Really?
I will tell you about that.
That was a joke. Oh my god.
I will tell you about that. As I was growing up, I always found that when I had a crush on a boy, I was always able to identify that it was a crush on that boy, and I would come up with like fairly vivid fantasies about what that was like, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I would think about, you know what, maybe we would get married. And then I would change my last name to this and this.
You'd have like a whole... You'd start planning your life out.
And we'd have 2 children. And those children would be called this and this. And we would all go to the same... And we would drop them to the school. And all my friends would also be there. And they'd be like, oh my god, you married this guy who was the cutest boy in our class. So I used to have these fantasies.
Yeah.
Right? I remember I actually had a really weird fantasy. I'll tell you about this. When I was 12. So there was this boy that I had a big crush on in my class. Right?
Yeah.
So I was a bit of a dorky kid. Right? And he was a bit more of the popular kid.
Okay.
And it was basically not within the realms. Basically, for me, it was like, there's no way that he would ever be attracted to me.
Yeah.
The person that I am, so dorky, right? And my fantasy was 30 years or 40 years down the line, we will both have children and we will in our own relationships, and we will be divorced. And I will be dropping off my child in the school, and he will be dropping off his kid in the same school, and we will meet each other, and then he'll say, oh, Dawa, weren't you that dorky kid? Look at you. And he will think internally, oh my god, Dawa has grown up to become hot.
Damn, she's got it.
Yeah, and I should not have just sort of like looked past her.
There's a little bit of like vindictiveness there.
I was like, basically, I should never have looked past her all those years ago. If I had only known. Also, by the way, in my fantasy, I would be wildly successful.
Yeah.
I would just be like, yes, hello, so and so. I'm dropping off my kid, and now I have to go run because I've got a press conference since I'm saving the world or something, and also inventing a cure for cancer or something like that. You know,
a new cure for cancer.
Maybe I've invented like 5.
You've invented like a bunch before.
The 6th one.
Yeah, this is a different one.
Yeah. So those were the sort of fantasies I had, which I feel like is a very weird fantasy.
I mean, to be honest, it's not that weird. I mean, this sort of stuff pops up in like rom-coms and things.
Yeah. Well, you can see media and television really did shape the way that I envisioned my life and the world around me.
Yeah.
But I did have similar fantasies with women or girls, and it wasn't that I wasn't attracted to them. I definitely was. I could tell you, for example, when I was thinking back on my early years of feeling romantic feelings towards people, I remembered that there was this one particular girl whose eyes mesmerized me, and I was really drawn to her eyes. I used to find her laughter the most beautiful. I used to want to sit with her and try to get her to laugh. I just wanted to hear her laugh.
I can understand that.
And I used to love the way her hair moved. I remember how long her hair was and how straight and beautiful it was. And I loved the way that it moved. And she was an amazing dancer. So I remember all these little details about these people. And I was like, it's not romantic.
I just really appreciate them.
Yeah, there's nothing gay about saying to someone that your laugh is mesmerizing.
And you really want to see them laugh.
And I just want to hear it all the time.
It's nothing gay about like wanting to be roommates with them.
Yeah, there's nothing gay about describing somebody's eyes as amber with hues of green.
Yeah.
You know? I did not even know the word gay at that time. I did not even realize that this was romantic feelings. But at the same time, however, I knew that I should not indulge in it too much. I knew that I could not express it fully because I knew that people would think it was weird.
Yeah.
I knew enough to not go to those girls and tell them, I think you have the most beautiful eyes. Or, you know, I am drawn to how red your cheeks get when you are out running or playing a sport or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they would think I was weird. I knew that I would be classed as weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, even when I did not know those words, I already had an awareness of the fact that it was wrong. And then, I remember the first time I actually heard what the word, or I actually, you know, realized what queerness meant and how it was perceived.
Yeah.
And it was when it was used as a slur against someone else.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, so I think I was about 9 or 10 years old when I first heard the word thakka.
Okay.
Right, so you're not familiar with this word. It translates to six in English. Or a sixer. Sixer, S-I-X-E-R, sixer.
Okay.
I am not familiar with the etymology of this word. I don't know where it comes from. I just know what it meant, which was gay. It was basically equivalent of an F, you know, the F word.
The F slur.
The F slur. And it was hurled towards generally boys who appeared more feminine, a bit more feminine, basically. Yeah. Maybe they didn't play sports as much. Maybe they enjoyed being inside and hanging out with girls.
Yeah.
So I remember growing up, there was generally always at least one boy in our class who would have the thakka label thrown at him as an insult.
Okay.
Right? And I remember not knowing what that meant. And my earlier conception of it was someone who differed from the gender norm. Basically, if you're a boy who was a little more feminine,
yeah,
who liked to play with dolls maybe, or maybe you like wearing skirts. So and there was this one boy in my class, I remember when I was growing up, he really liked to try out girls' skirts.
Yeah.
Right? And he would sometimes ask to put on makeup.
Yeah.
Right? And we didn't really have makeup. We were kids. But then we had chapstick. You'd really want to wear the chapstick.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he was gender non-conforming. I don't know if he was trans.
Maybe just like... I mean, I actually like putting on makeup. Whenever I was growing up and I saw some girls putting on makeup, I would always be like, hey, can I have some?
Yeah.
I've never really felt any particular...
Yeah, I don't know what his deal was. Like, I don't want to assume.
But,
right?
like, yeah, people just assume,
but
like,
that
you must be
enough.
gay.
That was enough for him to get this label. And people were mean. And when I say people, I don't just mean other kids. I mean the teachers as well.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, the teachers would also call him thakka. Would also say, can you walk straight? So, like, he walks a little differently. Then they were like, can you walk straight? Can you not do that with your hands? Why are you doing this? Why are you not out playing with the boys? You're acting like a thakka.
Jesus Christ.
And this was, like I said...
very fucked up.
Parents, like not parents, but like teachers, students, and also his parents who were really worried and would come to school and talk to our teachers about how, my son is acting not masculine enough, basically. And I did not realize that it was also tied with sexuality. I just knew that it was about being not masculine enough as a man.
Yeah.
But I remember even when he was being teased, feeling some sort of fear within me. Because I felt like, I gotta be more careful. I remember thinking within myself, I gotta be more careful because I might get caught out as well.
You like recognized the part
I might be identified,
yourself.
I might be clocked. Basically, I recognized that whatever aggression he was facing was because of something that was different within him, which was also different within me, but I was better at masking. I didn't know it was called masking, but I was just better at masking at that time.
Yeah.
I remember also, the one time somebody yelled at me, "Are you gay?" was when I was 11 or 12. And there was this girl in my class who I had a little bit of a crush on at that time, right? So, and she was my best friend because, of course, she was my best friend. I remember we were on a bus back from school. She wasn't, like, asleep, but I thought she was asleep. Her head was on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I looked at her, and she looked really cute, right? I just kind of wanted to give her a kiss on her cheek.
Yeah.
Turns out she wasn't asleep. And when I kissed her on her cheek, she suddenly got up, she looked furious. And she said to me, "What are you doing? Are you gay?" And then everybody in my class, in the bus, turned around to look to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Right? And then there was this other there were a couple of teachers in the same bus, right? And one of the teachers says, "Gay?" And he starts laughing. And he says, "What are you girls talking about? Do you even know what gay means?" Like, they're laughing. And I remember feeling deeply, deeply mortified, feeling, holy shit, I'm getting caught here.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm really sorry. I just thought you looked nice. I just meant it in a platonic way. I didn't use the word platonic, but I didn't mean it like that. I'm really
That's
sorry.
That's what you're trying to get at, basically, yeah.
And I was thinking, now I'm done for, basically. People are going to talk about me. People are going to tell everyone that I'm gay. They're going to start calling me a lesbo. I'm going to be bullied for this. This is it. I don't want to go back to school again. I remember being really silent throughout the bus ride home and being really, really afraid and really, really scared. And by the way, I didn't even know at this point, I hadn't even admitted to myself that I was queer.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling all of those things still.
Yeah.
And when I got back to school the next day, I remember being so very afraid. I was getting on the bus, expecting to hear someone call out lesbo or something along those lines, or tucka or whatever.
Yeah.
But nothing happened. Nobody said anything. People had already forgotten about that incident.
Yeah.
And I realized that for other people, it was just, oh, someone just called someone else gay because, oh, what are you doing? You're gay. As an insult.
Yeah.
It's just sort of the thing that people throw at each other as insults, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, well, basically, when people throw this around as insults, the assumption is everybody is straight and we're just being funny. It's not a big deal. It's no harm.
Yeah.
But for me at that time, I felt like I was called out, basically. And I felt like a part of my life is going to be destroyed. I felt like I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to not be able to sit in the same class as my friends and socialize.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
As someone,
but it was, yeah.
Like as some man who grew up, it was
as a man who grew up.
As a man who grew up, it's quite common. Is quite common for boys to go around using the word gay as
boys and girls.
Boys and girls. I never really saw much with girls because I didn't really talk to girls very much. But yeah, I know it was very common for, in the UK, people just be like, oh, that's pretty gay, or yada yada, or that's gay. And even for, people who, even for me, as someone who grew up with never actually thinking there was anything necessarily wrong with being gay or anything like that, I still did it and I didn't really think too hard about whether or not it was actually harmful.
Yeah. Like I said, I went back to school and nobody actually reacted to it. In retrospect, I realized the reason is because people don't really take lesbians that seriously. They don't really take women being queer that seriously.
No.
So, and also I didn't fit the stereotypical idea of what queer is. I was fairly feminine presenting.
Yeah.
I play with dolls. I like to brush my hair. You know how people think gay looks in women, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s. People
butch.
thought it was very, they thought if you're gay, you're butch. You play 2 or 3 sports.
Yeah.
Right? And that wasn't the case for me. So I don't think people really thought too much about it. Not even the same girl. She had already forgotten about it as well herself. She didn't even think of it as a thing. But I was mortified, I remember.
Yeah.
And the result of that was that I started working twice as hard to come across as straight.
Yeah.
So I would talk even more loudly and more aggressively about my crushes on boys with other girls.
Yeah.
And I am ashamed to admit, I became one of the loudest people to bully the boy in my class who presented as feminine.
You overcompensated.
Yeah, I remember one time he came over. I think it was sports day or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically he needed to pair up. I think it might have been for some game. And he said, hey, Dawalip, can I pair up with you? Let's pair up. And I said, I don't pair up with gays. It was for no reason.
Yeah.
No reason at all. The only reason I'd said that was because I was worried if I was seen being too friendly with him that I would be caught out.
Yeah.
And, I was very young. I was 11 years old. It was pre-pubescent age, basically. But still able to recognize that being seen as gay was something that was really, really wrong.
Yeah.
That would cost me a lot.
Still able to internalize it.
Yeah, able to internalize it and able to basically try to navigate it and try to make sure that I was as safe as possible.
Yeah.
I feel so bad when I think about it. I remember he just looked at me and he said, no, you're gay, and he ran away.
Yeah. You initially think oh my, this is obviously a very sad thing, but the way you tell it's oh, it's so sad, and then you end it with, oh, his response is, no, you're gay.
Well, remember we were 10-year-olds.
Yeah. I know. Obviously, it's terrible. It's a horrible thing, and it probably affected him to this day as well.
I know a lot of straight people who find it so weird that gay people exist and were around them, they don't seem to understand the pressure that queer people have to be within closet, be in closet.
Yeah.
And that the pressure starts when you are 4 or 5. But as soon as you're old enough to recognize that you have any sort of attraction towards other people, that's when you start to feel that pressure already.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully it's not so bad for young people now, young kids now.
Depends really
in
on
some
where they
parts
are.
of the world, I think it depends, like you said, where they are. In some parts of the world, it's not as difficult. I know that there are people who have very welcoming and warm homes where they can be themselves and fully express themselves.
Yeah.
I did not grow up in that space. And it definitely continues to affect me, continues to affect how, what sort of relationships I have.
Yeah.
And I was doing all of these things, by the way, without ever, if anyone asked me if they asked me in earnest whether I was gay, queer, bisexual, pansexual, I would say no, of course not. At this point, I would definitely say that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a very weird juxtaposition as well. So pre-pubescent years, I didn't really have a conception of sex. So all of my attractions, all of my romantic feelings were very much chaste. The most physical affection that I wanted was holding someone's hand or brushing their hair.
Yeah.
Right? But when you start entering teenage years, sex becomes part of it. Right? And you start noticing your peers in sexual ways as well.
Yeah.
And again, this is also where representation comes into play as an important thing, because representation in media and in real life shows you how to express your attraction towards people.
Yeah.
Right? So while I was still not admitting to myself that I was gay or queer, I still verbalized my attraction towards women in very objective masculine ways.
Yeah.
Right? So I remember when I was 14, 13 years old, I had a conversation with a guy in my class ranking the best boobs in my classroom.
Yeah.
Which girls had the best boobs. I remember having a debate with them. What do you prefer, boobs or bum?
Yeah.
Right? Well, by the way, if anyone asked, I was as straight as they come. That's what I would tell people.
I'm not gay, but I would, if I had to describe myself, I would say I am an ass woman.
Yeah. Well, I said I was a boobs girl. But yeah.
I would say
I am not gay, but if I were gay, I would say I would call myself a boobs girl, a boobs person, right?
Yeah.
And I was having this conversation with this guy, right, with this boy. And it also is really interesting how your mind is corrupted, basically, with the representation of sexuality. And also, a lot of media, I always saw myself as the protagonist, which was always this male character, a straight man, right? And straight male protagonists sexualize women. And it's not a big deal. It's not a massive thing. I remember, they objectify women. I remember when I was a kid and I watched Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And you have this character called Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Right? Who goes around basically looking at women's bums.
Okay.
And basically very much clearly very confident and happy about the fact that he just sees women as physical objects and parts of their bodies and not as the person that they are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just how you express your attraction towards women. That's how you do that.
That's the standard.
That is the standard. So I was having this conversation with this guy, and in that conversation, I said that this one particular girl's boobs are really great. And then he said, oh yeah, I agree. And I said, oh, you know what, I'm going to tell her about this. I bet she's going to be chuffed.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was like, no, don't thou. She's going to be mad. And I was like, why would she be mad?
I'm giving her a compliment.
I'm giving her a compliment. You see, I had become a straight man.
Yeah.
At that time, I was becoming a straight man, and I went to her and I said, "Guess what? I can't remember her name actually. Let's call her X. Guess what, X? Me and Bob over there were just discussing who has the best breasts in our classroom, and we both agreed that you have the best rack in this class."
And what was her response?
She was furious.
Yeah.
She was so upset. She was so furious, and she said, "I'm gonna go and report you guys to the teacher."
Yeah.
And I was shocked that she was furious. I didn't realize she was going to be. And I remember, I'm going to continue calling this guy Bob, because to be honest, I don't remember his name either. I remember Bob was like, I told you, we're going to get suspended, we're going to get detention, we're going to get into so much trouble. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I decided I would go to her and I would say, girl to girl, I'm really sorry. I did not mean to upset you. I really didn't mean to upset you. Please don't report us. We're getting into so much trouble. We're really, really sorry.
Yeah.
And she agreed not to report us. She was really, really upset though.
Yeah.
She said it made her I remember her saying it made her feel very, very self-conscious. Basically, I remember not recognizing that at that age, and it's just such a weird double-edged sword, I suppose, for me at the time, because I felt like I did not like seeing myself as a woman of the world that I lived in.
Yeah.
So in the media or anything that I watched, I never identified with the woman. Not because, obviously, not because I didn't see myself as a woman, but because I didn't identify myself with the role that the women were assigned.
Yeah.
So instead, I identified myself with the next best thing, which were these misogynistic men.
Yeah.
The result was that now I was going around objectifying other women in my classroom, girls in my class. While also, by the way, this whole time telling people, I am straight though.
Yeah.
It wasn't until in my mid to late teens that I began to actually look into myself and start to figure out that maybe my feelings for women were not just platonic.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was like 17 in my A-levels. I had a massive crush on this girl. And I started to realize that this feeling was romantic. Also because by that time, I had been able to see more examples of gay relationships in media as well.
Yeah.
I remember, basically, I had this massive crush on this girl, and she had a boyfriend. And they used to have this weird, you know how 17-year-olds, like, they are constantly fighting, they break up, and they used to get together again, then they would break up again. And I remember I just inserted myself in the midst of it, basically, as her confidant.
Yeah.
And every time they would break up, she would call me crying, and I would be so over the moon. I'd be so happy.
Like, I know I could treat you better and all that.
Yeah. And I could treat you better. But yeah, and then...
Love that song.
2 days later, she would come to me and be like, oh, that we go back together again. And it would break my heart. And it was just a cycle that I had stayed in, basically. Fun fact, they're married now.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're very happily married. You know, they clearly they've been together for a very long time.
Yeah, in a case like this, are either very happily married or very unhappily married.
I'm going to say they were happily married.
Let's say more likely. Let's just go with the former. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to assume they're happily married. They look very happy. I remember the last time I really found out anything about them was maybe like a few years, 6-7 years ago. I saw on Facebook that they gotten married, and they looked happy in those photos.
That's good.
Okay, I'm going to end this episode towards a point where I finally came out.
Yeah.
I have not come out to my family still, by the way. My parents don't know. I had come out to a small group of friends. So the first group of people I came out to was my friends, my A-levels friends.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember, it was just so stupid. Just to make sure that they were cool.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. I did not come out to them. I tested to see if I could come out to them.
Yeah, to make sure they were cool.
To make sure that they were cool. By telling them that my sister is bisexual.
You threw her under the bus.
Yeah, well, also, my sister went to a different school, so there was no way that they would meet her.
Yeah.
So I told them, hey guys, my sister told me that she's bisexual. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
And then one of my friends said, how do you know? Did she try to attack you? Did she try to rape you?
God.
And I remember feeling fucking incensed. I was like, what the fuck kind of statement is that? They said, well, your brother is straight, right? Did your brother try to rape you? How did you know he's straight? Did he try to rape you?
Yeah.
And she got so mad at me for saying that. And I was like, well, you just asked me if my sister tried to rape me because she's bisexual.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fair question.
I think it's a pretty fair comeback. Like,
yeah.
I've never understood why, like, my dad has, like, said some things in the past about, like, gay people, which I think he's sort of changed his opinion on a little bit. But, like, I've just never really understood why there's this assumption that just because you're gay, you're, like, automatically some form of sexual predator. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, so I remember feeling really angry about it and having that conversation, but then they all looked really shocked. They all looked like, oh, you know, maybe she's just confused. Don't worry, Dawa. Maybe she'll just come around to it. Oh, she's bisexual. It means she can probably still date boys. It might still be okay. And I remember realizing...
there's still hope for her.
Yeah, I remember realizing this is not the group that I can come out to.
Yeah.
I actually only properly came out at university. And it was with a group of friends. And I remember the way I came out was so weird. Like, for me, it was such a big deal. But I was 18 or 19, I think. And I remember saying it offhandedly to make it sound as not a big deal as possible. So I was amongst a group of people. And they were just talking about I don't know what. And at one point I said, oh, yes, I'm bisexual.
Yeah.
And then they clearly were like, oh, this is a big piece of information, but we're going to pretend that we're also cool.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay, cool. And I remember thinking, cool. And yeah, that was the first time I ever said out loud to a group of people that I was bisexual. And I remember this very clearly to this day.
I'm glad you had that experience.
Yeah. I wish I could say that after that, everything has been smooth sailing, no problems at all with internalized homophobia.
If only that was the case.
If only that was the case, and we would not need a second part.
We didn't need the other sexuality.
Yeah, we didn't need the other sexual education part.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're at the end of our episode, and what do we always do at the end of our episode, John?
We talk about stupid shit men say.
That's right. Stupid things that men have said. I'm going to have to pull this up, so there's going to be a bit of a gap here.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, I'm a man. I'm sure I can come up with some stupid shit. Let's think.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is like conspiracy theory stuff.
Here you go. Men just have higher libidos.
Okay. Yes, of course we do.
It's just basic need for men, like food.
That's ridiculous. In my experience, women actually are more capable of having a higher libido than men. Like we have a biological limit.
Yeah.
It's called the refractory period, honey.
I've often found that men use this as an excuse for being more overtly sexual.
Yeah.
And for policing women who are overtly sexual.
Not just being more overtly sexual, but like also being sexual, like harassing people. Like
yeah.
Sexually harassing and all that.
Being overtly sexual in a like that's in best case scenario.
Yeah.
So they say this best case scenario to just be like, oh, why am I always being objectifying women and making creepy comments? Oh, because men are just more sexual. Women just don't get it because they're not sexual that way. In the same way, they would also say, this will also be used to say, why are you if you're wearing short skirts, of course you're going to be raped. Men are just more sexual. They just can't help it. Can't help it be.
It's like
drawn to you that way.
It's used as a way to. It's a bit like boys will be boys. It's like it's a bit of a way to like absolve men of any responsibility when it comes to like.
Why did I cheat on you? Well, you weren't having sex with me often enough.
You just weren't having sex with me enough.
And it's my basic need.
Like you don't have this basic need, but I do.
This one guy at university. This is in the UK actually.
Yeah.
So he is Nigerian, and in some communities in Nigeria, polygamy is practiced.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how it makes sense for men to want to have multiple partners.
Yeah.
Because men just have higher libidos.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember saying, well, why can't women have multiple partners as well? And he just looked so confused. Like, how would that work? I remember he said, whose house would she live in?
Maybe they all build a house together.
Maybe she just lives in her own house. Maybe they all have their own houses.
Yeah. Maybe they're roommates.
Yeah.
It's a big coven of roommates.
Yeah. It's really funny that he would talk about polyandry because I come from a community where polyandry used to be historically practiced.
Oh, is it?
Well, the reason was, the Sherpas live in the mountains.
Yeah.
Where arable land is scarce.
Right, okay.
So if you have 2-3 sons in your family, and you have to basically divide your land amongst the multiple sons, and it means that the family fertile land just keeps getting split and split and split, right? So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, people used to basically have one wife amongst multiple brothers.
Yeah.
It was practiced for a long time. My great-grandmother, for example, had 2 husbands.
That's interesting.
Yeah. My great-grandmother's... so I come from her second husband's children. And my great-grandmother's first husband's daughter is the only person still living, only sibling still living from that generation. I think she had about 7 or 8 kids.
Yeah.
The eldest is the only one who's still alive. She is in her mid-80s.
Yeah. Right
now. And my great-grandmother lived to be 102.
That's impressive.
She did not have to ask the question of whose house she was going to live in.
The thing is, this is an interesting point about how, like, a lot of the time our norms and the things that we accept as, like, base reality are more informed by cultures that are themselves informed by material conditions.
Yeah.
Than we like to think, to be honest.
Yeah. And also, the reason that polyandry is no longer practiced is more because the mainstream culture in Nepal did not like it, basically. So polyandry, polygamy, polyandry was made illegal.
Even though it made sense for that community, the larger community,
and everybody was okay with it.
Yeah, the larger community that didn't like, you know, care about what their material conditions were like you got to stop this.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a good point to end the podcast. And in the next episode, we're going to be delving further into my young adulthood. We're going to go back to the old format and talk about what being queer was like as a young adult in Kathmandu.
Got the sauce, the tea.
Yes.
I don't know why I said sauce. Anyway, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Chia piau, pat mariau, aja हामी दुईले